Howdy, and welcome to another episode of Adult Onset Horsemanship. I'm your host, Daniel Dolphin.
I did want to let y'all know, if you have been following me and enjoying some of the bit information that we have got, we have a new online course that's being released. It has only been available up till now in a masterclass version that is like 30 hours long. We are now going to release the original 6 modules of that course, which does include the bit video, but a lot of add-ons as well as a 70-page study guide that goes along with the course. We have also included in this self-guided course 2 of the videos from the master class where we had some special guests coming in. So that's something like an extra 4 to 5 hours worth of content for you to watch that I think adds a lot of value to the course and gives you an idea of what the master class would be like if you decided to upgrade to it at a later time. You also, because you've already bought the self-guided part of the course, you won't have to pay full freight for the master class version if you decide to go to it later. If you're interested in checking that out, head over to thebitcourse.com. We will have a link in the show notes to the specific page with the self-guided course if you're interested in more information. At the very least, I would encourage you to get on our subscriber list for the newsletter. I do send out pretty regular emails with some tips and things, and that's not stuff I share on social media. That's all exclusive to this particular newsletter. So anyway, check it out. I think it's well worth your time and money, and it does cover way more than just the dry bit mechanics and stuff you may think it has. It's got a whole lot in there about how to use your hands, how to apply this bit in practical terms versus that bit, kind of the differences between them, the things this is going to help you with versus that. So it isn't just mechanical kind of stuff. It's a lot of very practical information as well. I'm very pleased to get to chat with our guest this week. Nahshon Cook was a fellow presenter along with me at the Best Horse Practices Summit, the last one in 2022, and we hit it off and made fast friends, even though we may look like an odd couple. He is the author of Meditations from the Muck, which is his newest book. It came out last October. That's a collection of his musings that he comes across while he is cleaning stalls. He's also the author of Being with Horses, Horses See Us As We Are, The Killing Fields, and other poems, just in case you're in for a very upbeat, riveting... Okay, I'm messing with you. Anyway, Nahshon Cook, classical dressage poet. That's how I always think of him. That's who we're talking with this week.
How you doing, man?
Hey, I am
Can
good.
you
How
hear
are
me?
you doing? Yeah.
Oh, I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good, living the dream.
Y'all have spring starting to arrive in Colorado?
Well, it was 60 degrees yesterday and sunny, and today it is 28 currently, and there's snow on the ground. So, um, Colorado is kind of like that crazy auntie.
Yeah. Are
Yeah,
you kind of around Denver or what?
I'm just a few miles south of Denver and Parker, between
Okay.
like Denver and Colorado Springs, which is I think the second biggest city here in Colorado.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
I'll be having a clinic north of Fort Collins, but we'll fly into Denver, I think the last weekend of June. And I know you travel a heck of a lot, but if you're around, then we'd love to have dinner with you one night. My wife and my son will be coming with me
Oh,
on
is
that
it
trip.
where is it, like Wellington?
I think that might be it. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like 30 minutes north of, or south of Cheyenne, so
Yeah,
it's right up there.
between Fort Collins and Wyoming. Yeah, probably Wellington. Yeah. And when will that be? Well,
I
you
think,
can send me a message.
yeah, it's the
Yeah.
last weekend in June. I don't remember the dates right now, but
Okay,
27th,
cool.
28th, something like that. So anyway,
Woohoo! Is it a what kind of clinic is it? Is it a bit clinic or a
No, this is just regular horsemanship, and we've just kind of talking about it and getting it off of the ground. So they still haven't given me much detail on exactly what they want or anything. But
Okay.
I think they don't want a high intensity weekend. They kind of want to have a little fun, learn a little something, have a margarita at night. It's that kind of a thing, I think.
Cool.
So
That's
yeah.
great. That's great. I taught up there for many years, in a monthly clinic. Um, and then it just got, I wasn't sustainable anymore.
hmm Yeah.
Yeah. So, but I'm happy to be talking to you, man. What you want to talk about?
Yeah. Well, we'll kind of start you off with the lightning round questions again. I have some new and fresh ones. I was just
Uh-oh.
looking at them. I know a couple won't apply directly to you, but we'll see how that goes. And
All
then we'll
right.
just talk horses. I know you got a new book. Has it out a
Oh
few months
yeah.
ago? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I was out in December.
Your stall writings and all that. So
Yes, my meditations. Yes.
so, we'll talk about that. That's a great example of lemonade out of lemons, right? I mean, the
Man, I'm
perfect.
telling you, no flowers without the shit, for real.
I like it. All right. So, Nahshon, as you know, these are for points and prizes. So you want to be on your A game here.
Okay.
So, if you were a Jedi, what percent chance is there that you would misuse the Force?
None. Zero.
None, zero.
No, I'm a straight line.
Morning or evening?
Depends.
Okay. Well, when, like, let's say you're working on a book or a project like that, when is your brain most alive and thinking?
So what I'll do is that I'll put the notes into my phone while I'm cleaning because I actually do it when I'm cleaning stalls and then I'll write it down in the evening. Yeah.
So, in your process there, are you a heavy editor? So, like, the seventh draft looks nothing like the first draft, or are you kind of
No,
perfect from the start?
it's pretty straight from the start. Yeah. Yeah, because then the syntax happens and the sound of it and the feeling of it and yeah, no, I'm pretty and then I'll have I usually have two editors. Well, this time I did read the first part or read it one round and then I'll make corrections and then I'll have another editor do it another round so that nobody's eyes get too familiar and I skip over things and corrections aren't skipped over because I'm a horrible editor. You know what I mean? I love to write,
Mhm.
but I'm horrible at
Yeah. I have the same problem. That deciding which sentence needs to go, that's like killing one of my children. I want them all to stay, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, cool.
How long do you dunk a cookie in milk? I'm guessing you're about to tell me that you do not dunk cookies in milk at all. But if you were to dunk a cookie, let's say tea,
Yeah, I don't
maybe
eat
you were
sugar.
so you were dunking something in a cup of tea or whatever. What how long?
I've never thought about it. I guess just enough to make it flavorful but not soggy, not
Okay.
soft. Just like a dip, just like that.
Okay.
Not a dunk.
Do you have a standout horse memory?
Oh, I think my whole life has been made up of them, but recently I have a horse that I'm working with now, and you actually were quite influential in the process and figuring him out. But he is a 22-year-old. He's now a 22-year-old Lusitano who had who has been diagnosed with like PSSM2, and so like his muscles were not developing and he had DSLD, so his suspensory ligaments behind were dropped. And I remember that lecture that you gave at the when we both participated in the Best Horse Practices conference, and the tongue and holding the bit And I don't know if it was you who talked about it connecting to the fascia throughout the body, but between that and I read a book by Dr. Mike Dodge, I think his name is, and it's a book called The Brain That Heals Itself. And in that book, they have a whole chapter on the tongue, and they say the tongue, the title of it is The Tongue, the Golden Road to the Brain. And I
Hmm.
learned that it's the most direct access in mammals, the tongue is, that we have to the brain. And in it, they were talking about this device that it's this clinic in the Midwest. I think it might be in Chicago or Minnesota or someplace where people with MS and cerebral palsy and after strokes, they wear this device on their tongues and they do these movements and and they walk out like they leave their canes and stuff.
Hmm.
And so we got the missing link snaffle that you had talked about by Pat Puckett in that lecture, and had him learn to carry the bit, and his pasterns lifted up.
Hmm.
And like last March, he was not really able to walk, and his pasterns have stayed lifted up since June, and we're able to ride him lightly now. But they had been
Hmm.
dropped, I think it was for like a year and a half or something. And I mean, it was, and so like as of right now, that's one of my biggest horse um memories, just kind of you know, just how information works when it's in service to them and you listen to them. And so, yeah, it's been absolutely fascinating.
Well, that's cool. Thank you for that. You had better results than I generally intend, so that's wonderful. I know PSSM that's a rough road right there
Yeah,
for sure. And
PSSM2 and combined with the DSLD, like there wasn't much
mm,
hope, and like it had been suggested that he be put down, but I had been working there for about a year, and one day he was just like, and I wasn't working with him, I was working with other members of his herd. And one day, his person asked if I would work with him, and he was available, and we started. And it's been, I mean, he's starting to build a top line. It's kind of wild.
mm,
And I can't explain it, but it's good.
well, that's cool. I'm gonna check that book out. The tongue is it's difficult to overemphasize how important it is. It really is. Um,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, it is the master key for
hmm.
sure.
Do you have a bucket list item with a horse?
No, I think training wise, I mean, I have, I mean, no, I just I think where I want to go now is I just want to just kind of get myself to where I can hear them a whole lot better. And that's just a practice of learning to just keep my heart still and my mind quiet so I can hear them. But
Okay.
training wise, I mean, I've done some pretty incredible things. I have, yeah, no need to go through it, but I've I feel good about it. Yeah, I feel like I'm on the right road, and I feel like age wise, like I've gone through and kind of worked through kind of that weird space where I was afraid of running out of time and getting my horses to where I thought they needed to be. And now I'm really getting better results by just waiting, 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 waiting. Yeah.
Hmm.
So I'm glad I got there before my body got too old to appreciate waiting, you know.
Well, I hope we both have a few decades left in us in this round.
Yeah, but you never know. But I think that like I feel like I'm to that place where I just feel so much more centered in myself, more so than I have ever felt. And it's directly reflected in the way that I'm working with horses. And I'm really grateful for that. Very grateful.
I like that. I'll tell you what, I'm going to bring up because I think this is relevant. Are you familiar with Tick Menard?
Yeah.
So he was the last podcast interview. I did it just a couple days ago. Neither of these have come out yet, obviously. But so anyway, I asked him, "What's the most important quality you have in a horseman, or that you think a horseman would have?" And he broke it up, saying that, are we stipulating that to be a good horseman, you also have to be a good person first? And because there are some people that are pretty talented with a horse, but then when you meet them personally, you kind of wonder how they're, where the character comes from to be good with a horse. So I'll pose that to you now. What percentage do you think of the horsemanship relationship thing comes back to you, and you as a person?
I don't know, because I don't know that there's a lot of value for me in comparison. Observationally, I do know that people come to horses for different reasons, and I kind of distill them down to two. One is an invitation into life, and one is an escape from it. And I think that the value that horses have in people's lives, it depends on why people are coming to them. But what I have learned is that more than well, one, I do think that to be a good horse person, that you have to be a good human being. But like, what does that mean? And with whom? Because, there are some people who think I'm a total asshole because I hold really strong boundaries for myself, when in fact that's a practice of love for myself. And so it just depends on whose eyes you're observing it through, but you can definitely tell the quality of a horse person by the quality of their horse's bodies and minds and their eyes, if they feel safe around your hands. You know what I mean?
Hmm?
But I've also had to rehab some horses who've been in the hands of some very well-known horse trainers who, because of the state of those horses' bodies, I would really not want to meet those people in person.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
Yeah,
Do you have a bucket list item that has nothing to do with horses?
no, I'm pretty good at going where my heart tells me I need to. So, like in my 20s, I lived abroad for like 5 years, and then I came back home and started the horses came back into my world because that wasn't the intention. I was planning on not doing working with horses ever again when I got back from my travels. And then the last 10 years from 30 to 40 have been a progressive upward trajectory to where I am now. And so I think that my motivations aren't a lot. Sometimes I know, most of the times I know that what I want to do isn't really what I should be doing. And so I've learned that when I fight what I should be doing at the cost of what I want to do, my lessons, they make themselves known and in really hard ways. And so like now my prayer is just to like that I learn my lessons gently. So it kind of commits me to listening and moving where I'm supposed to go.
So I'm going to ask you this. This is definitely a departure from the questions, but you kind of you're begging me to basically here. So you come back
Sure.
from abroad and you get back into horses unexpectedly. I know you were doing
Mm-hmm.
counseling, youth work programs and stuff. So getting back into horses for you, was that an invitation or an escape?
It was an invitation. I think the escape was not working with them. I was tired of working for people with horses and always having my heart broken because horses weren't being given what they needed. to succeed, to thrive, just because of a lack of patience on the people's part. And that's one of the reasons why I don't, I don't compete, especially, well, up till now. Well, I'm not competing now, but it's one of those things where I wouldn't consider competing horses for people, because that's when, for me, everything went wrong. I would bring them back and we would compete and we'd start to win, and then the folks just went crazy. And maybe that was just my experience. And so then when I came back, though, I realized that I had a real knack for rehabbing major medical situations, biomechanical stuff. And what happened was that my horse Nova, my horse that I've trained up to the high school, to the Levad, when I got him, he was 10, and he had kissing spine in his back, and he had a really weak left stifle, to the point to where the meniscus was really getting damaged. And like all of the things that the vets had proposed in helping that hadn't worked up until then. And so I remember getting a book of Schooling Your Horse in Hand by the German man Richard Henrichs. And in there, he had a movement from Boucher's first method called Goat on the Mountaintop. And it's where you have the horse walk their hind end, you have them stand, and you have them walk their hind end up to their front end, to where they're kind of pancaked over. And initially, it was taught to teach thoroughbred horses how to bring their hind legs under and collect. But when it's stationary, it is a fantastic exercise in opening up the horse's spinous processes, and moving the fascia around in the ways that it should. And once I started working with Nova like that, and he started getting better, the people that I had been working with him for decided that they were gonna get rid of him. And he came to me in a dream, and he told me that I was his person. And I told him, at that time I didn't have a job. I had sold all of my stocks and stuff, because I came back to the States because of a medical issue with a family member. And in that dream, he goes, "If you take care of me, I'll take care of you." And so I acquired him and moved him to another barn. And that's when I that's when my training business really took off, because almost everybody there had decided that they wanted me to work with them. And so by then I had gotten a job at the hospital, working with the kids. And when I got full time there, I would work 3 night shifts, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then I would work training horses Monday through Friday afternoon, or through Friday morning. And there was another horse with kissing spine that was there, and the vet didn't really, at that point, it was like 6 or 7, no, it was, yeah, maybe it was about 7, 8 years ago now. The vet didn't really have any real answers about how to help it. And so he just said no turnout for a while. And so that horse's person had asked me to help her, and I taught him how to do Goat on the Mountaintop. And the next time the vet came out for a checkup, and this was before I knew the degrees of, I didn't even know about kissing spine, but it was before I knew like the degrees, the grades, and that you have 1 and 4, but this horse's was really low. I think it was like a 1 or a 2, where the processes were touching but not fused yet. Um, and it was gone. It was gone. And the vet just he just told her, he said, just keep doing what Nahshon says to do.
It astounds me when people come across a broken body and they think that body not moving is going to be the solution. Like, let's put him in a stall where he can't go anywhere. How is that possibly going to make it better?
Well, the thing is that, there are a lot of horses who aren't in stalls whose bodies are horribly broken.
Mm.
It sometimes feels like um, different religions fighting each other for territory or something. But it's one of those things where it's just one care that is being suggested. It's sometimes only, it's taking into account where the horse is, because you have horses who are in places that where they don't have a field, or if you're in the city, like, the horses don't have pasture, and sometimes if you're way out in the country, the horses don't have a stall. And then, like, psychologically, there are some horses, like my mare, who gets horribly dysregulated when I turn her out to the field. Like, she's run through fence posts and stuff. And so she has a big run behind her stall instead. And so it's so individual. But also, I think that that's the importance of people collaborating with each other. But to your point, I think that correct training is the best preventative medicine that we have, because it was teaching his body and getting into his nervous system in such a way that changed his brain and the neural pathways there, which then allowed his mind to start thinking about movement differently. And what happens is that once those, and I have found for me, once those new movement patterns are put in, you can see horses adjusting themselves in the field or in their stall, or and so it means something. And then, more importantly, how the mind changes in thinking about movement. Because so, for example, I have a young mare that I'm working with now who was slated to be euthanized because she had this back problem, and the vet, it was kind of inconclusive about what was causing it, which had caused a slip disc in her lumbar spine. um Kind of what we had come to the conclusion is that the her previous person had had been trimming her feet by herself, and her heels were too low, and it had messed up her back. And so, and then that, along with the mare just not being worked correctly, turned into a really bad situation where she was incredibly dangerous. But because she was being misunderstood, so much of my work these last few years going around in clinicking has really been an observation in how people's emotional states negatively or positively affects their horse's movement patterns, which is their emotional self, which is then their mental self. Um, and um, I think people who blame horses for the horse's problems should not be in horses. It's never the horse's problem. We got that horse back, and then she got this really horrible. It was very dangerous. She would just buck, and on the lunge line she'd kick. And so we had to kind of set some boundaries and let her know that, like, these behaviors weren't appropriate, and we can do some substitute behaviors. And so, like, she couldn't lunge, and so what I did was that I taught her how to do I did groundwork with her, from a liberty position, in front of her, with two whips on either side, which guided how she went and which direction and flexion and all of these things, so that she wasn't being guided by the rope, by the lead line. And then I taught her how to follow the whip, and so she was able to go on a big circle, and she would have these huge anxiety attacks because big circles meant that she was far away from people, and it just totally sent her into a tailspin. So we've been opening up the circle little by little with her having the whip has have the whip in front of her as a target, and then I open it up and she goes to a big circle, and I close it back down and she comes back onto a Liberty circle. And so I just got flew in on Wednesday night, on but on Tuesday we did some pole work with her, and um and instead of trying to teach her not to buck, I taught her how to jump instead. And out of that, just trotting to a small cross rail and lifting herself up and landing, it made her go into a beautiful collected canter. And like we fix behaviors by offering substitute behaviors and not necessarily by discipline, because she had been so overly disciplined that she had learned to fight and that she was really good at it. you know, you know what I mean? And like, if there was any chance at me helping her, then it couldn't be that way. And so, like, there, I mean, and there were times when you could just feel her, she would be so rageful, and you could just feel it in your body. And so, to make the arena just a safe place, we every time she walked in and stood still at the halt, we just gave her a treat. And then when she started feeling safe without the treat, then we every time we just gave her one when the lesson was over. And now that she feels safe inside of her work, she doesn't need them anymore.
Hmm.
Um, so it's just been kind of it was just kind of making paired associations that always brought her work with people, always brought her back to her work with people as being safe. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
It's been a really cool experience, and not a lot of time. It's just been since November, and she's made a full turnaround.
I kind of feel compelled. You do more of the, I guess, in place work, or at least you talk about it more than anybody else that I'm associated with. And so I'm kind of curious, knowing the sort of spiritual and natural guy that you are you big on using like a bamboo stick for that or something?
No, absolutely not. Mm-mm. I don't use bamboo because I also don't use cavessons. I use just padded leather halters because I don't need it. I don't need to um I trust horses with their bodies. I feel confident in my work enough to not need to uh, manipulate them in that way, posturally, to get the correct answer. I just use like regular dressage whips, and I use generally whips that have a lot of give. And I oftentimes don't even touch horses with them. And if I do, generally it's just their tails, because that gives me more access to their whole spine. But there are occasions where I will, if I'm dealing with so I have like two horses at the Grand Prix that I'm working with, and one, like, three horses at like international level, international competition level, the FEI. And you can touch certain parts of the body to get certain parts of their joints to move, and maybe come in place a little bit more or move forward, and that there's a whole language of the whip, but it's more touch than it is tap. It's more like, here you are, instead of go here, you know what I mean? But no, I don't use bamboo. I think it's incredibly inconvenient, and I really don't understand just my brain. It doesn't understand the whole purpose of it.
The draw to it. Okay. What would you say? I kind of talked about this with bringing Tick into it and his answer, but what would you say is the most important quality of a horseman?
An open heart.
I'm assuming figuratively.
Yeah, it does something. I mean, just being, and the ability to not need to be right. The ability to not need to allow your time with horses to mean that progress is you winning and them losing. I don't think that there's a place for war in work with horses. I think that it's understanding that every behavior it means something, and that if we work on kind of not just the behavior expressed, but like the feeling that we get in our body when that behavior is expressed, then we can see if something that we're doing is the trigger, you know what I mean? Or we can see where, like with this young mare, she would buck and then she would stop and turn and look at you because that's when she got the most attention. And so it's like, in the process, if you're not starting a horse, you begin to see where the person who created the problem's understanding of the process ended and where fear and force came in, which is where um, the horse being in relationship with that person turned out to not be um, a healthy one. So going through that, I think to have a lot of tools, but not necessarily always needing to know. So keeping the heart open, just being able to observe.
So surprise absolutely no one with your answer of bay or sorrel.
No, that's racism.
It's racist. That's right. I only like the gray
I,
ones, damn it.
I, 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 I don't participate in that. Just because, having been on the not so pleasant side, the receiving end of it is not pleasant. And so, that doesn't matter to me. I think that horses wanting to be with me in work is the most important thing. And that's yeah. I no, it's I'm not. That's a superficial thing for me.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how well can you back a trailer?
7,
Okay.
but a gooseneck, not a bumper.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Gooseneck just feels a little bit more like home. Driving a trailer pull for me is like trying to fly a kite with no wind. It just doesn't work.
Tell us something unexpected about you.
I don't know. I'm a fairly simple guy. Um, I don't know how to answer that question.
I'll say one. Every time I have ever seen you or been around you, I have this vision in my head of you, and you're always wearing, you almost are like what the CIA would call a gray man. You're always wearing very light colored, kind of nondescript clothes that you just disappear in a crowd in. And you're wearing this bright sweatshirt, red right now, and I've never seen you in anything colorful like that
Yeah,
before.
that's
So
because my other stuff is dirty.
laundry day, yep.
Yeah. But yeah, so yeah, that's one. I usually in the summertime I wear plaid. But I usually always ride my horses in like gray chinos and my boots. I'm a pretty earth tone kind of dude, yeah.
Mhm.
But yeah, today was my Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer red shirt.
Does pineapple belong on pizza?
I've never tasted pineapple on pizza, so I don't know. I only get like black olives, mushrooms, garlic, and basil.
Okay. Do you like pineapple off of pizza by itself? Are you a fruit guy at all or no?
I like fruit, but mostly uh, mangoes, bananas, and green grapes. Not a big pineapple guy, just because it's oftentimes too sugary, and the sugar makes my skin break out in pimples.
Okay.
Even at 40, like adolescence has not ended.
Thoughts or feelings?
Both.
Well, you really are kind of both because you're a very cerebral guy, but you're definitely a very feeling kind of a guy too. So you have that.
Yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
think my thoughts live in my mind and my dreams live in my heart. And when they talk to each other, I'm clear.
So you brought up a little bit ago what I would call self-discipline. You were kind of talking about the conflict between what you know you should do and what you want to do. So I
Yeah.
could view that as a conflict between thoughts and feelings. The cerebral part of you is what I know I should do, and then the feelings is the what I want to do,
For
like the
me,
id
it's
coming
more
out. But
for me, it's more like what I should do. So a pretty concrete example. What I wanted to do was kind of clinic like I have been these last 2 years. But what I knew I needed to do was to step back and just spend time with the horses that I work with. So I work with my herd here in Colorado of 5, and then I have a herd in Wisconsin of 9 that I work with, and I fly back there every other week for 5 days. And so between those two, I have kind of this really beautiful um, array of horse teachers at every level of the spectrum of dressage. So like my guy Nova, he's up to the high school with the Levad. He can do the Grand Prix. He's a thoroughbred, so it's not as flashy as a big warm blood or a Iberian, but he can do it correctly. And he's 22 and he's sound. And we started when he was what, 11, 10 or 11. And then in Wisconsin, I mean, and then I have my young mare here, um, and she's 9, 7. I don't know how old she is. She's between 7 and 9. I have to look at her papers. Um, and she's a thoroughbred. And then I have two horses that just don't want to be ridden. And then I have my pony. And then I have in Wisconsin the horses that I work with. It's a herd of 9, and they range in age from 5 to 25. Two of them, one is confirmed at Grand Prix. One is getting a little bit, we just have to clean up his one-time changes, and then he'll be pretty well confirmed in a classical sense at Grand Prix. One is probably like pre St. George, which is like it's pre St. George I1, I2 Grand Prix, so he has about 3 more levels before he's confirmed at the Grand Prix. And then I have one there that is at like 4th level. And then I have the horse with DSLD. Um, and then there's one whose shoulder we're rehabbing, and so he's probably like at 2nd level when he's rideable. And then I have the baby at 5, and then there's another pony there. So I have the whole spectrum of dressage horses there, or in my life. And so and it was heartbreaking for me. Like I wanted to clinic. I did like 40 shit. I did 40, 41, 41 clinics last year between my public and my private clinics. I was doing 4 a month, 5 sometimes. And I had stuff scheduled for this year, and I woke up one day and I kind of felt that my horses needed my horses and the horses that I work with. I'll I'll just say they're all mine just because they're in my life, though I only own 5 of them. They just wanted more of my time. And so I was able to make sure that I'd be able to live. And then I had to cancel clinics just so I could sit and learn so that when my work with people comes back up, that I'm helpful in a real way, because I felt like I had given a whole lot and it was really good, but like I was beginning to understand more and I just needed time to figure out what all of it meant. And so I decided that even though I wanted to keep clinicking, I needed to stop for a minute.
so did you back off or lighten the load, or did you put the load down completely? You cleaned the schedule out, or you wouldn't?
Yeah, I'm not doing any. I just have my horses and the horses in Wisconsin.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah, and I let everybody know because I mean, it was basically full, and so I had to call everyone and just be very honest with them and just say that like, you know, But I think that's what it means to be a horseman too. I trust horses with my whole life, and you know, and I just felt like the ones that I was committed to in a very substantial way just needed me to sit down and listen and learn from them. And so, yeah, I cleaned the whole slate.
Well, now you need to write a book just on airplane musings. If you're flying that much, you could replace your spedal cleaning with in the air or travel or airport
You know,
waiting time or whatever.
yeah, it's been wild. Like my mind has been super, super quiet. The stall meet cleaning meditations actually started after I got back from the first um summit that I did with Warwick Schiller in San Antonio a month after you and I presented the Best Horse Practices Summit. And I mean, my mind had just opened up and I just felt like my whole world was expanding in ways, and I wanted to document the change from then to whenever they decided to be done. And that's basically what that book is about. It's just that documentation of how I feel like I've grown, and yeah, how horses are really a metaphor for me to just kind of understand my place in the world and the world in general.
So when you write, that's obviously your creative outlet and expressive medium.
It's one of them.
One of them, you have more?
I like to sing, and I think that my work with horses very much is a creative outlet. Um, I have adult coloring books. Um, so I do a lot. I like to read. Um, when I'm with my nieces and my nephew, we often have dance parties. Um, and I really just enjoy um listening to music and experiencing how it just makes me feel in my body. So, um, yeah, I mean, and like last year, I lectured some. I did like non-clinic lecture. So I have a whole range of things that um, keep me awake inside of life.
Okay. Well, in terms of like your public outreach of that with writing, do you this is kind of my question, I guess. I'm trying to figure out how to formulate this. I don't have time to edit it, right? I have to do this in real time verbally instead of
Believe in
writing it down.
yourself. I believe in you, Daniel.
So I guess my question is, when you write something, do you feel like you 100% say what you tried to say, or is it sometimes 80%? Like I'll write something and it often winds up similar to my original idea, but almost like a parallel course. It's never quite exactly what I originally intended to say. It's similar, but it always kind of morphs and shifts a little bit onto a different track or something. Does that happen to you, or do you feel like, no, I nailed it? That was exactly what I was trying to.
Yeah, it usually happens that way because the thought comes fully formed and I'll speak it in as a voice note in my phone. And then from that voice note, I just write down what I said. Like with my published collections of poetry, that was a lot of right. But usually, Daniel, like everything comes fully formed. It's really like just the way that my mind produces things. And even like with the work with the horses, even like the answers that come that I'm able to get that most people, as I've experienced it, have not with certain horses that I've worked with, because it's very rare that I'm the first person that a horse has worked with. I'm usually, um, I'm usually on the latter end when everything else has just crumbled.
Mhm.
I ask horses what they want help with, and oftentimes they will just send me a image or something like of me doing something with them, and then I know that that's what I'm supposed to do. um I mean, and it can be like as specific as like a bit, or a bridle or noseband if they're in one, or a girth, or like with that young mare, like it was super, she didn't know that there was a pedestal. Well, I never showed her that there was a pedestal, but I also think that that mare can like, I'm gonna sound like a kook, but like I think that she can make her mind just float around and see stuff. She's very powerful. And recently, like I was sitting talking to my mom while my mom was brushing one of her cats, and I heard my Yoda pony, and I very clearly heard him. He was like, "Oh my gosh, that feels really good." So I took a cat brush down, and sure enough, my Yoda pony fell asleep while I was brushing him with the cat slicker brush. And then I heard this little mare, and I took it and I called her person, and I said, "Can you please get a slicker brush, a cat slicker brush?" And it's a way to like really get into their nervous system and really help them regulate, and really calm down. And I had absolutely no idea that a cat brush would work. And we had some folks actually in from visiting from Germany this last weekend, and it was because I mean it was good to have them there because I was able to kind of see like that what was happening, the results therefrom were real, and indeed they were. So it's kind of how it works in my brain. It's very weird, but that's kind of how I work. And like I feel things, I'll feel things in my body. I can feel tight spots, and like if I breathe, like if I'm in a lesson or something, like I can breathe into it, and there have been really, really interesting, some wild things that have happened during clinics, where horses, they just guide me through. I can feel it in my body, and then I can tell their people where I'm feeling it, and I can guide, like, and that's where the horse is balancing the behavior on, and it's usually a stuck emotion. And if I can guide somebody through that process, I can usually fix a horse. Like in Oregon, there's a beautiful article that'll be out in Eclectic Horseman here in the March, April issue, I think. And a reporter came and documented it in my clinic last, I think it was November, in Oregon, where a horse came in with kissing spines, and just by having her person work through the emotional blocks where she was holding in her body, the mare's back lifted up and held. I didn't touch her. The person didn't touch her. She just regulated her breath, got her mind in the place where she could feel what she was feeling, regardless of what she was feeling, and the horse, her back lifted up. And by the end of by the end of the 2 days, the mare was totally not willing to even have the thought of riding her. And on the second day, we spent most of the lesson just reintroducing the bareback pad and that it wouldn't hurt. And by the end of the lesson, the horse actually walked over to the mounting block and invited her person to sit on her. And it was just going through and getting the person's mind in their body so that we could figure out where this, and this is what I was saying, so much of my work with people these last few years has really been understanding how horses biomechanical dysfunction usually is balanced on a person's unhealthy emotional state. And so if the people are willing to change, the horses get better. And it has absolutely nothing to do with training. It has nothing to do with doing anything except keeping your emotional body healthy.
So the emotion that was stuck in the horse in Oregon that lifted its back, it was greed, wasn't it?
I don't know. I don't think that this one was greed. I think that, and I didn't ask the person what it was because I have to set up. I have to kind of set up boundaries for myself about how deeply I feel into these things, because it has happened. Like when I first realized that I could do this, I was sick for 10 days. And so I have to be very careful about how I do it. So like I can, if I can just heat it up with and it wasn't greed. It was just her not feeling safe. It was
Mhm.
her not feeling safe with not knowing how to help her horse, which I guess is also, almost every negative emotion comes from fear, and fear is not feeling safe. And so much of what I have found is that, one, people think they need permission to feel safe, which is wild, but it's true. And then two, how many people don't really have a point of reference of what safety actually feels like in their body? A lot of people don't know what it's like to feel safe in their body. And so that was another thing. And what happened as that mare lifted, when we found those stuck places in in the person's body, I I told her to just try and, in that place that's stuck, and usually those stuck emotional places are cold. And so, I ask people to, and everybody, a bunch of people around the world have seen me do this, so like a secret that I'm giving away or anything. But I ask them to just imagine, to conjure up the memory of when they felt safest in their body. And if they're able to do that, then the body automatically relaxes. The nervous system already starts to regulate. And then when that happens, I can feel in my body the tight spots. And it's been important for me to be able to find language for that, because what I would do is that I would ask questions and then I would get answers, and then the answers would make me sick. And so oftentimes now, when I do that and I bring it to their attention, I'll say, this is this, this, and this. And, you know, and I'll ask a question and tell them that they don't have to answer it in public. Because one, it can be incredibly vulnerable for them, but two, then for some reason or another, them voicing that will make me sick. And I'm not quite sure kind of what that bond is. So I have to make sure that when they're answering a question, that the answer is for them and not for me. And the way that I have done that is by really making clear that they don't need to answer it, because there's been situations where, um, where it's been a horrible trauma that people have endured, from like, burying their child, to like losing a sibling in freak accidents, and or or horrible abuse. It's all just unacknowledged emotion that I found. And the, the lesson space then becomes a really safe place for people to to feel it, and to acknowledge it, and to love it. And I've learned that being able to love it and to show it love, it loosens it up. And I realize that, like, those stuck emotions, they hold really tight because they're afraid of being cleaned out and cleared out and being homeless, and anything that's afraid of being forced out fights. And so we don't fight it. We take care of it. And has that often has really, really brought a horse in their person to a place where there's a way forward. And so, I'm really happy that that's something that I can offer. And what I was really, really grateful for is how many, this last year, how many trainers and um veterinarians, like, there were veterinarians that couldn't figure stuff out, and so they sent people to my clinic. There were veterinarians that brought their horses and participated. How many other professionals are really seeing that often the emotional space that we bring to a horse is the emotional space from which we're able to hear them. And if we can't find an answer, maybe it's not the horse's issue, that's the real issue. And without judgment, right? Like there's no need to feel bad about not realizing that you didn't realize what you were bringing was hurting you or them. It's just about recognizing that working from that space isn't helpful anymore if you don't want it to be helpful. And so it's been really nice because now I've been able. There were other professionals who came and brought horses in, and then me and my own training practice being able to get horses to a very high level of work and proficiency and doing it with such beauty and class without them having their bodies taken away from each other. And then like with you, like your presentation was so paradigm shifting for me because it informed, you know, like the tongue actively engaged in the bridal process is true self-carriage. You know what I mean? Like, and if they can't hold their bit, their then their balance isn't real. You know what I mean? And so being, you know, all of these places and then reading and studying and having conversations with certain folks and then also understanding that like oftentimes the people who offer criticism uninvited are the ones that I'd never ask advice from in the first place. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And just really getting myself strong in that way because you know that also deeply affects me. And so just learning to get strong and I think that that's what this year is just really getting my heart ready for whatever is next.
Good. Well, that's all very nice, but the question was crunchy or smooth peanut butter.
It was not because I don't eat peanut butter.
Okay, so neither, huh?
It was not crunchy or smooth peanut butter. It was whether it was greed. The emotion was greed.
You got deep, and I had to crack a joke. That's just how it goes with me.
I just
So,
Daniel's like, oh God, we're starting to float. Feet back on the floor. And I think that that's the thing. Like I live in the floaty space. Like my mind just whoop. But
yeah,
it works. It
it
works. I
does. Yeah.
mean, it works beautifully.
If I were to use this word, and I feel like I wouldn't say this with anybody, but I think we've got a relationship where I can do this, and you'll take it the way I intend it. But if I were to use the word savant to describe you, would you agree with that, or would you find that offensive? Or
No, I don't, you know, I don't know that and this is the thing, is that I I could see how people could use that because it's been used with me on many different occasions. But I think that it's important that regardless of what people see or say, that my only goal is to help horses be happy. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And so if the work taking me, if the work of doing that takes me in that direction where horses reveal a world to me that they feel safe revealing to me and help me share it with people, if that warrants that word, then I accept it. But I accept it as a observation in truth and not as a um ego inflating flattering thing.
Mhm.
Because there's no room for the latter in my world.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right lead or left lead?
Depends on what the purpose is.
Do you find one easier or more intentional, like within your body, a natural inclination toward one, the other has to be more intentional, or no?
No, I don't. Well, and I think mostly because I also outside of my work with horses, I exercise a lot. And so I just do that to keep my body even and strong and straight like them. um so yeah, no, I don't, but I often don't canter horses for a very long time. And there are times where I will do haunches in and shoulder in and haunches out and all these things and all these lines because, canter can be very scary for some horses depending on what their histories with it are. And so, there are sometimes, depending on what the horse is and what they need, like to get them strong and to get that rotation in the lumbosacral junction and in their back. Like there have been times where if a horse said, you know what, Nahshon, I need to learn how to pee off before I canter, I'll teach him how to pee off. And there are other times where like they're like, I need to go over a little jump to learn how to canter like that mare. She's like, I don't really know how to canter. I know how to run off and buck. And so, just a little jump at the trot and then over, just so her mind it's setting up situations in which they can get the correct answer. But to answer that question simply, it's just in my human design to not do anything with people or horses that I'm not invited to do. So I follow them with wherever they go, and then I make what I need out of it. I let them lead the process for sure.
Okay.
Sorry for the long answer. It took me a long
No,
while to figure out where I was going.
not at all. I'm still stuck on Nahshon Cook aspiring towards straightness. I think that should be your next book title. I didn't hear anything you said after that.
You can hear it when you play it back. Mm.
Would you say that your hands or your legs are better?
I'd say that my seat is best, and both of them
Okay.
come from that.
Yep. Okay. Always got to be difficult. Can't just answer the damn question. I got
I did answer it, but I answered it truthfully.
it. Besides a horse, what animal would you most like to ride? And this could be mythical, dinosaur, whatever you can think of.
Can I tell you the truth is that every time I ride a horse, it feels like I'm inside of the most beautiful dream I could ever have. And so, I've ridden an elephant before, um, and nothing. I just love the way a horse feels inside of my body when I'm moving with it. I don't have a desire to ride anything else.
Have you ever ridden any gaited horses?
Yeah, I've trained gaited horses before.
Does that change the picture for you very much at all? No?
Nope.
Okay.
Mm-mm. If I can get the back working, then I can get the body working. That's all I need. And really it's just the difference between a backward hand to contract the back or a forward hand to open it up. And then, I mean, the gates come from there. But yeah, there have been many gated horses that have come from like Icelandics to Rocky Mountain. Was it the Rocky Mountain horse?
Mm.
Yeah, Tennessee Walkers. Everybody's welcome. Like church, like how church should be.
Well, that's a good one for this setup for the next question. Do you agree that hot dog water is the opposite of holy water?
I think whatever we make holy is holy. It's how you see it.
You're not playing the game here, man.
That was because I don't eat hot dogs, so I
I
don't
know, I
know.
know. I'm looking at like a third of these questions, and I'm like, Nahshon is not good. He's
I
gonna
told you
just smash this one.
outside of horses, I'm not really interesting. I order the same thing at the restaurants that I go to almost all, like I walk in and they're like the same thing and I'm like, I mean the whole wait staff. Like and I have it's so wild. It's so wild.
Nothing wrong with that.
I didn't say it was wrong with it. It just is what it is. I'm just not that. I mean, I wish that I was more colorful sometimes, but I'm just not.
You got the red
I got the
sweatshirt
red
on.
shirt on,
I mean,
but it says "Be kind," so there's always some kind of like it's old, but there's always some kind of a message. It's
so
like
be honest. If you
if I'm gonna be seen, then I'm gonna encourage you to be a good person. Otherwise, I'm gonna disappear into the trees with my gray pants.
so be honest, it says "be kind" on the front, but on the back it says "of an asshole," right?
Let's see.
Yep,
Be
sure
kind of an
does.
asshole. Okay,
That was very satisfying.
that's right. That's right. Be kind of an asshole. That would be hard in case unless you made me mad.
Do you have, and this may have actually changed, I know I've asked you this before, but since you've had a year of experiences or a couple of years since, do you have a horse industry related pet peeve?
I think that there are a lot of really good horse people, really brilliant horse people, trainers particularly, who who could really shine if the industry was more realistic about the process and less focused on the product. So, in an easy way to say that is that, a lot of people go, unless it's like on my end, and that's why I'm grateful for my work because doing rehab, usually I have all the time that I need. Like, but there's so many people who think that horses can be trained yesterday and that they expect really talented trainers to do it. And, I just wish that relationships between people were a whole lot better so that horses could really have a chance to thrive. I think it would be a different world. I mean, and I'm even thinking about that. Like I have a horse that I'm working with that he's an incredible horse and I'm getting him confirmed in the one-time changes for the Grand Prix test, but like he had been through the ringer. He's only 11 and he was bred in Portugal, a Lusitano, and when he arrived at the barn, he wouldn't walk. He would not walk. He was like, I have got all this magic and I'm not showing anybody who feels like they can take it away. And he would not move. And it was so wild because one day I and I didn't know he could do his one-time changes because when I get horses in, um, I try not to have I try not I don't want to know anything that won't be helpful. And so the fact that this horse had Grand Prix experience and that I didn't know that. And his person asked if I wanted to see video of him, and I was like, nah, I'm good. But it was the weirdest thing, man. I had gotten to the barn one day and because what would happen last year is that I would like fly out to a clinic on Friday, teach Saturday and Sunday, and on Sunday night or early Monday morning, I would fly to Wisconsin. So I went to them after every clinic last year, and I would stay from Sunday to Wednesday or Monday to Wednesday. And I got there one day and I was asleep. The driver had dropped me off from the airport to the barn, and the weirdest thing, I start hearing one of my favorite singers. Her name is Cynthia Erivo, and she has this song called "You're Not Here." And in my dream, I hear her singing that song as if it's just like playing from my phone, and I see this horse doing his one-time changes around the arena. And I told this person when I got downstairs, and I was like, I saw him doing one-time changes yesterday. And sure as the sky is blue, this horse busts out with one-time changes. I asked him for him and he was like, "Ah, you got the memo." And so it was I don't even know what the question was, but I felt like that was important to say. I'm sorry.
Crunchy or smooth peanut butter? No, that was a horse industry related pet peeve, and you were
Yeah, so
talking
I
about
think
timeline.
and I think that if ways of communicating and people and trainers were really developed as the whole practice of horsemanship and taking care of horses was more decided. It's kind of like, so for example, like at most dressage shows they won't allow you to do like groundwork. You know what I mean? Like there would be a lot of horses that would probably be helped that, if they could do groundwork at a horse show. You know what I mean? And it's just
Hmm.
stupid shit like that. You know what I mean? Your information around the bits and the tongue and all this stuff, like it would be a huge reconsideration about the proper application of a noseband. You know what I mean?
Yep. Yep.
And the thing is that there are so many governing bodies that have absolutely no idea about how to care for a horse. And trainers are forced to fit their practice into these rules to get a result when it's not the best thing for a horse. Why wouldn't you allow groundwork to be used at a dressage show, but you let people go around and make their horses' tongues blue? What kind of fucking sense does that make?
Hmm. Oh, I'm right there with you. Oh yeah. Yep.
I mean, and it's not even a matter of agreeing or not. It's just the truth. Like allowing it to where Olympic level riders can make their horses blue and calling them competent is preposterous. I know it's possible not to do it. I
Hmm.
know it's possible to have a horse at the Grand Prix and their bodies break down. Because you know what? None of my horses that I work with are on injections. None of them. And they barely sweat. You know what I mean? Like there are these things that we are fed as a industry-wide society, not just discipline specific, but industry wide, where we say that abuse is par and parcel for success. And it's total bullshit. And this is the thing that when you start treating horses in a way that feels good, you start hearing their voices. They tell you what feels good in whatever way you're able to hear them. So maybe some people can hear them in a dream. Maybe some people can get like a little flash. Maybe some people will get a feeling. They start to talk to you in ways they know that you'll listen. I had a person come to me who had a horrible brain injury because her trainer said, get on the horse, and she knew she shouldn't have. Like, you should trust yourself. I wish that just across the horse industry, like fucking that was encouraged. I wish that horses were started later, given the information that we have now. We don't need horses to be started super early because we don't need them for work like that. And even still, even when they were started super early, like two, you know, in the past when that happened, like the level of horsemanship didn't break these horses down. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Like the
Yeah.
value for almost every horse in competition is between 2 and 15 if they get that high. And like I have in my barn a horse that's 22, that's up to the Levad, has never had an injection in his, hasn't even had a training related injury except for one because where we were at boarding, the ground was too hard. You know what I mean? There's so much stuff that's just unnecessary when we stop treating horses like a jet ski or a fucking battering ram. You know what I mean? What is my biggest pet peeve? That there's not enough room for true love for the horse and the process of training with them, and how so much is perpetuated off of just people with the best intentions that are stuck in times that don't exist anymore. You know what I mean? Like Tick said, right? Like, and like I said, to be a good horse person is to be a good human being. What the fuck does that mean to you? What does it mean to everybody who's participating in this art form? Right? That only happens when horses aren't recreation anymore. You know what I mean? When people aren't using them for an escape from life. And that's what a lot of horse shows are. They're escape from life. It's this idealized version of how it should look and how it should feel, and it's breaking horses' bodies down, and it's breaking riders' bodies down, and all you have left is a pile of bones being watered with tears. It's just stupid.
So where in your body are you feeling this right now?
In my chest and in my shoulders, and I'm hot.
I
You know, like
apologize for.
I'm warm. Like if I were not black, I'd be red. You know what I mean? I mean
Uh,
it, because you know what, Daniel? Because it's so consequential. And the only reason that it cannot matter to more people is because they don't really see horses as sentient beings that are capable of more than just obeying the whims of hearts that are afraid to be open and hands that are afraid to feel. And it's not to say that the motivation isn't pure, but the support for that pure motivation to be developed into goodness for the well-being of everyone involved is not supported. You know what I mean? And all it's built on is this fear of running out of time. Fucking horses don't even understand what time is. And I think people invented it to create a neuroses around the fear of dying. That's not a horse's problem. They don't care if we run out of time. They understand how what we do makes them feel. That's their only point of reference. You know what I mean? And then people get stuck in these stupid traditions. And I think that these traditions are like silos of ignorance that make people afraid to really collaborate and talk and really see what best practices are. You know what I mean? It just makes no sense to my mind. And it's so sad because you know what, dude? Like, I've had horses that the industry has destroyed and thrown away and left for dead, from trainers to vets. Now, I don't have a vendetta against veterinarians. I don't have a vendetta against anybody. I think that horses need to be heard. I think that we present greater value by not knowing anything when we come to them to try and find an answer, instead of knowing the answer that we're trying to ask them to answer. It's just they are such beautiful, expansive, awareness raising, consciousness enhancing beings that I think are gifts from heaven that people miss because they need to fucking fit in a show class. It makes absolutely no sense to me. And I didn't know if it was possible outside of my horses to have both. And now I know that it's true. You can have both. You can have a high performance horse that lasts.
mhm. Yeah,
You know
for
what I
sure.
mean? And it's so weird because the thing is that this horse, the horse with PSSM, and I don't have much experience with it. He's the only one that I've really had experience with, but he started growing, he started muscling up, and his posture started changing when his nervous system was regulated. Dysregulated, there's nothing there. When he regulate, you can see his body grow. It's
Mhm.
wild. And it's all based off of really his point of reference of what work with people should be, based off of how he was started. I mean, and 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, he had a gas colic. And I check in with him because I stay in an apartment above the barn. And every time I wake up, like he's always the first one. He's like, "Yeah, I'm ready to ride today." "No, I'm not ready to ride today." And I went down and I told his person who was getting him together, like, "I don't think we're gonna ride him today. It just," and she goes, "Yeah, he's a little off." And she didn't say it. I said, "It feels like a colic." And I didn't know that I know that he had had the surgery once a while back, but I didn't know that this happened occasionally. Do you know that he was pawing with his right front leg, and she's pulled him out of these before, but and so I touched his shoulder and I felt his muscle twitch, and I warmed my hand up like I had that lady in Oregon warm her body up. And do you know that that twitch went away? And then I started feeling in my body where this was happening, and I started getting gas bubbles in my stomach. And as soon as I was able to get those gas bubbles out of him and into me, he started his intestines started to move. He passed gas, he pooped, he was happy, he went back to his stall and ate. I mean, they are showing themselves to me as such willing creatures. If we have the courage to believe and move beyond our doubt about what we're capable of experiencing. It's not magic if you do it every day, but it's magic if you've never seen it. You know what I mean? And it's all just a matter of listening. And I just wish that there was more room. I wish there was more room. That for people and their gifts to show up in ways that were beneficial for the whole industry, instead of just saying, like, pull their head into a frame and make them sit this far down in the hocks, and if they don't feel good, inject them so they're ready by Saturday.
Yep. Yep.
You know what I mean?
Side question for you, and you may already
Crunchy,
be doing
crunchy,
this.
crunchy
Crunchy.
peanut butter.
It's the right. And by the way, both of you gas colic, and you're both vegetarians, so there may be something there.
Maybe
Just
we should start eating hot dogs.
a little too much alfalfa. I don't know, telling, right?
We should start eating hot dogs.
Um, but have you done any audiobooks?
No,
Have you
because
thought about it?
I have, and I've had a bunch of people ask me for them, but I stutter a lot. Um, and especially if I get too self-conscious, if I get too if I get just too anxiety and me are really good friends.
So, see, you're totally off the mark. I was going to suggest that I read your books. I think
Do
that's
you
the
want to read my
magical.
books for me,
That's the
Daniel?
chocolate and peanut butter combination that the world has been wanting, Nahshon. I think it is. Yep.
We'll have to talk about that. No, but I've had a bunch of people ask me, and I've had a bunch of people offer to help me do it. Um, but like, kind of like what happens with that question. Like when I'm in it, like when I'm feeling it, like I'm good, but like when I have to think about it, anxiety just overtakes me,
Yeah.
and I
But
stutter.
they're your words. You don't have to think about them anymore. You already got them out. So
Yeah, and I think
anyway.
that that's the thing. And on that note, once a book is written and out, I don't go back and read it anymore.
Mm.
I've never reread any of my books.
When I do go back and read something like that, it's almost like someone else wrote it. It really is like I'm reading it for the first time if it's been a few years or something. I don't
Maybe
really
when I'm
remember. Yeah.
maybe when I'm geriatric, I'll go back and revisit it. But right now, um, I just have too much to do. I think other people's words are more interesting when it comes to reading right now.
But you are other people for the rest of us.
Right, which is why I'm thankful people buy them and read them. Just like I buy books and read books. I'm really grateful that people are doing that for me. There's nothing more beautiful than that. And like I said, like it's just been wild to these last few years to just go around and people show up and like I said, we just had some folks visit and they were from Germany and it was just and they were they got introduced to me to my work via a podcast and then my book and then it's just wild. It's just wild the way that it all comes together. And I'm really grateful because, like I'm a good horseman, but I'm a shitty salesman. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't market stuff well outside of outside of just doing my work. But, I mean, so I'm grateful for the way it's all coming together. I am. I'm really grateful for it all, even the
Well, I'm
heartbreak.
proud to know you and get to watch your rise and the success that you're having and everything. I'm looking up. Here we go. Okay. Uh, so I
And
put in my
thank you for that. I really appreciate that.
no, and I'm serious. I feel like I met you kind of right at the beginning of this rocket launch,
You
and
did.
it's been cool to see it, and you deserve it. And I'm glad that you're having the success, and you have the options now. You need to take a year off and do some self care and play with your horses, and you can do that, and that's wonderful.
And it makes me sad because I think that everybody whose heart is in the right place for horses deserves it. And I sometimes, quite honestly, I struggle. Um, if I'm being fully transparent, and I mean, I've told people this. I, I struggle with all of with all that I'm getting. I'm grateful for it, and I'm not complaining. I just wish that more people had the opportunity to do that because I think it would be so much better for folks who come to teachers for help. I think that I've seen that one of the main reasons that a lot of trainers who I've talked to fall out of love with this work is just because they're tired.
Hmm.
They can't rest. You know what I mean? And I mean, and I've been through the ringer, I've been through it. Like I've experienced every stage so far of this whole process of being a trainer and a trainer for the public and now clinicking and all this stuff, and it's just wild because like I like this year it's the first time I've taken any time off in 10 years. I mean, and I've had pain in my body. I mean, I exercise but I've had pain in my body that because I can rest is gone away. You know what I mean? It's just wild. And it kind of blows my mind that like and it's a beautiful and weird thing that so many people commit their lives to to treating horses better than they treat themselves in a very real way. Um, and I mean, and I've done it, but I just think that I'm grateful for it and I'm thankful. Um, and I'm trying to take care of it very, very deeply and not let my ego get in the way of it and to not let people know that I appreciate the effort that they take in making the clinics that they set up for me possible and taking the time out to come to them and traveling. I wish that every person who dedicated their lives to the well-being of horses were able to experience this, and it really breaks my heart. So
Well,
I'm grateful, and 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 I'm grateful that inside that I can be that I can be thankful and heartbroken at the same time.
What's your favorite dinosaur or deep sea creature?
I'm not really into dinosaurs or deep sea creatures, so I don't know.
Okay. Y'all all hear that? That's the sound of Nahshon and his own drum beating.
You know, I've lived my whole life like that, and it's worked.
Absolutely. No, it's definitely part of what makes you you. Um,
Well, you know, when a red shirt is a surprise, you know that you're marching to your own drum. You surprise people because you wear some color, not walking around looking like a security guard.
well, I'm tabulating your score here, and that has got you, Nahshon, at 5,192.7 points, which makes you our high score of all time for
Oh,
the
that's off. That's
icebreaker.
awesome because I was about to say, what is my max score? Because if it's higher than that, then I haven't done my job well.
I have to be honest with your deep sea creature answer. I was about to mark you a 3 and just leave it at that,
You
but
know
no.
what? Go with what you feel, Daniel. Go with what you feel.
As you may remember, that entitles you to either an awkward silence or a genuine compliment. And I don't know if awkward silence for you is actually awkward. That probably is that's the
I was
comfortable
about to
line.
say awkward silence is home. I, 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 I love silence. I spent many, many years cultivating it in myself. So, um, and then I was trained to do it. I was trained to sit in silence. Uh, um, so I would have to go with the compliment because if I said that I would prefer awkward silence, then I would be lying.
Okay. Well, how to compliment you? There's so many things. I think the word savant applies. You're clearly brilliant. Um, and I'm always a little conflicted here because you and I are personal friends, and there's, well, I guess we don't hold a whole lot back either, but I know that sharing your gift with the world does take a toll on you, and it's not
A
actually an
tremendous
easy
one.
thing for you to do at all.
No.
And so I am I'm not only glad for your success, but I'm glad that you continue on with it, even though you may take breaks here and there, but you continue to share this gift with the world, even though it is actually costly for you to do so. Um, and I know that's on a level most people wouldn't comprehend, but it really, it's a grind for you, and I get that. And so um, your bravery and perseverance there is appreciated. I think if um, more people knew how hard it was for you, then they'd appreciate it even more than they already do. Not that that's any of their business necessarily either, but
No, I'm
you know.
I'm fully transparent with people. I'm terrified every time I walk into an arena. I am scared because I don't know what the fuck is gonna show up. I have absolutely no idea. I don't know if we're gonna like work on getting the half pass correct or like if we're dealing with grief of having lost somebody and buried them recently. Like all of these things, horses hold all of our lives like heaven. You know what I mean? They hold all of our lives. You know what I mean? And um I mean and what is wild, Daniel, is that I before every clinic I just say a prayer that I'm helpful for whoever comes. And somehow that prayer is always answered.
Mhm.
But it's a lot. It's a lot. It's a lot. And I'm really grateful for the mercy that and the grace that folks have shown me as I learn how to navigate this. So yeah, because this wasn't the plan.
Mhm.
It wasn't the
Yep.
plan. I was fully convinced that I was gonna then go off and do my master's work and get my 401k and like this whole self-employment horse clinic that was not the plan. And life was just like, you're supposed to go left and I'm gonna make you go left. Oh my God. And so I was just like, okay, I'll listen. I'll listen because this is the gentlest way for me to learn my lessons. You know what I mean? So, and like I said, taking the break, taking this break, that was a big thing because like this attention, it can be so addicting. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
I don't know if anybody else has experienced that, but I felt it in myself, just like how how addicting just this it can be. Um, and so I just, yeah, I'm learning a lot. Life is teaching me. I trust life with my whole heart, and it's teaching me this right now. So, but I'm so happy and I'm grateful that you also were so patient with me because you got in touch with me first. Um, Geez, I think it might have been the middle of last year about this, and I was like, Daniel, was that right? I was like,
I don't know.
Daniel,
It's been a while.
it's
No
been a
big deal.
long road. And then I was like, I mean, you really stuck in there with me, and I'm really grateful because like I was like, I can do it with my clinic season ends. And then like my clinic season ended and it was December and I didn't feel like talking to anybody. And you're like, take the time. And I was like, after Christmas, and you got in touch with me with Christmas and my grandma was sick, and you're like, and then you're like, and I was like, you know what? Like this man has been so patient, but also I was also afraid that I wouldn't have anything helpful to say. So
Oh, I wasn't concerned about that at all. Yeah.
no, you weren't, but I was. See, these are my neuroses popping up.
Yeah.
It's a real deal. You know what I mean? And I think more than acting like I'm brave, the bravest thing for me to do is just be honest. You know what I mean? Like all of those other things were real too, but I was also just afraid that I would not have, I like it wouldn't be helpful. Um, and so I'm glad that I hope that it is.
You know that only the people that are the real deal suffer from imposter syndrome, right? Like that's actually a characteristic of you being where you belong. The people that think they belong there, they're the ones that aren't the ones that belong there. But the people that are worried about it like that, that's actually a sign that you are where you're supposed to be. So,
Well, thank you for letting me know that that's an omen and how to read it because
mhm.
sometimes it makes me shiver with anxiety. Um, and so thank you for that. I will try to remember that when I am struggling, because I struggle a lot.
There you go. You could get one of those wristbands that has the WWDDD. What would Daniel
What
Dolphin do?
Daniel Dolphin
And
do?
say, imposter syndrome. You just slap yourself with that on the wrist, and boom, you're back to it or something.
Yeah, that's what maybe that'll be my next shirt. It'll be imposter syndrome in quotes, and at the bottom it'll say Daniel Dolphin.
I'm not so sure that's the message I want out there, Nahshon, but yeah, we'll talk about that after.
Oh my God. This is what it looks like. This is how you know you're on the road. Yeah, I didn't know that. I didn't know that. I've heard it and I'd never it was never explained to me in the context with which my brain could really absorb. But
Hmm.
that was nice. I've heard a lot of people talk about it but I appreciate that breakdown because it's if that's what it is, then that's definitely what I'm feeling.
Yeah, like
Um,
you've heard of the Dunning-Kruger effect.
no, see, you're
Well,
you're educating
oh
me. What
man.
is that?
So the Dunning-Kruger effect, it could be summarized that on average, most people believe themselves to be above average. So it's kind of that deal. It's a graph basically of actual knowledge on a subject and confidence on the subject. And when you get about 10%, I'm throwing numbers out here, but when you get a little bit of knowledge about a topic, that's when your confidence peaks. They call it Mount Stupid. That's when you really feel like you know just enough to be dangerous. It's kind of that thing. But then as you go down the scale and you truly become an expert in something, you realize at that point how much you don't know, because you
Yeah,
actually do see the whole map now. And your while your level of knowledge goes way up, your level of confidence in that knowledge goes down. And
that's
so
the
that's,
story of my whole life,
yeah. So that's
and
why,
it's
like, you ask a lot of,
crescendoing.
yeah, you ask some great horsemen, what do you think I should do in this? And they'll say, I don't know, it depends, right? They'll never give you a straight
Yeah,
answer because there's so
yeah.
many variables out there on the table that,
I'm like,
whereas the
why are you
person that only
asking
knows a
me?
little bit, they will confidently tell you exactly the one thing that you need to do right now, right?
Well, I
So,
mean, and I think that, and I think that that's kind of the reason why, because at the beginning, people were asking that I release videos and all of these things, and the thing that happens, I think, for me, is that I'm just afraid of being a prisoner to that time in my life when it's time to move forward. You know what I mean? Like, you said this was the answer, and this, yeah, but now I am a very different man. You know what I mean?
mhm.
And I don't, and so, and maybe that's just me making an excuse for not moving forward in that way. But I think that you know, I think if I could, the best advice that I could probably give anybody is to just learn how to sit and be with yourself and trust yourself inside of that space, and like feel your body when it's relaxed or when it's not, and understand that when changes happen, like that's life speaking to you. And because that's my whole process with horses. That's my whole process with horses. Sometimes the real reason for a problem won't come out for a really long time. You know what I mean? Like, you can't just show up and think that because you think something has to be fixed, that it will be fixed. Like, nothing happens without a horse's permission if it's correct in this work. And for some horses, that takes years to be given. You know what I mean? Yeah, you know. And then understanding, for me, and this isn't, I mean, I don't know that this is advice more than it is just sharing. There are some horses that just don't want to work with you. Like,
Mhm.
there are horses that do not. I was sharing a story of this saddlebred mare who oh my God, I had fallen in love with her. I was swooning, and she is like, nope, you are not the one. And it's like, but I will be the one. And she- and it just wasn't love on her end. You know
Yep.
what I mean?
Yeah,
So
it happens. I mean, there
it does, and it's painful.
can be one of the hard parts of being a trainer is that if that horse is in your barn, you have to continue to work with it regardless. Even though you have an oil and water situation, sometimes it's
Well,
you know it,
it depends. It depends, because in situation for me, even before all of this happened, when I, when a horse just didn't want to learn from me, I would talk to their person and try and help them find somebody that it would work with. Financially, that was horrendous, but I mean, that's the way I work. And I
Mhm.
think that it was just because in school I had such a hard time learning. um I had a hard time learning inside of situations where I didn't have any other options aside from the way that it was being presented. And under one teacher I could thrive, and under another teacher I could totally fail. And I mean, and that was kind of kind of embodied in a real way. Like when I was in elementary school, like I think I went to like 4 or 5 different schools because my test scores were through the roof, but the way I learned um did not gel well with how those kids with high test scores should be learning. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then so, when it comes to situations like that, like I even at a clinic, there was one lady, she was like, I would really like you to work with my horse and just to see what you can do. And I was like, oh no, because like your horse doesn't want me to work with him in that way. And so like what else do we what else do we do? It's a risk, but I don't know what else to do, man.
Well, I know what we need to do. We need to read our sponsor for this episode, and it's all going to make sense to
Teletubbies?
you. No, this will make sense why the red sweatshirt threw me for such a loop.
Oh
Uh,
yeah.
so our sponsor for this one is Beanies, Toboggans, and Loose Clothes. It's
Beanies,
really been
toboggans, and loose clothes.
it's really been a plague in the horse world these days. No one wants to talk about it, but hat and helmet hair is a real thing. And like it or not, you will have to face the consequences. It's also a world filled with pants that leave nothing to the imagination anymore. Lulu Limes or whatever doesn't have a thing on the equestrian world of spandex and jeans so tight you can see if any hay got in there. That's why Beanies, Toboggans, and Loose Clothes is stepping up to bring informal style and comfort to an industry desperately in need. We want candor in our instructors, but girl, the world don't need to see all of that all the time. Obviously, on the hat and helmet hair, we've got your curls covered and the pixies
Oh my
ferried
God.
away. About those tight pants, we can help. Nobody wants to leave the farm looking like a 14-year-old boy. With our tasteful array of beige, gray, and earth toned garments, we'll have you been blending in like just another bay in the herd.
That's
Comfort is
right.
where it's at.
Oh my
You've been
gosh.
controlling a 1,200-pound beast with your legs and tush. It's time to let things relax and air out. Girl, gray sweatpants aren't just for men. 1 hour in our comfy pants and you'll realize these are the clothing equivalent of a potato. You just can't go
Oh my
wrong,
God.
and it'll feel just right no matter how you've prepared it. We've got accessories too. We have sunglasses so big and black you'll think they should play in the NBA. Seriously, you could have a second set of eyes and still hide them behind these glasses.
Oh
Beanies,
my God.
toboggans, and loose clothes. It's about self care and what you want. Make him wait and have another $8 dessert masquerading as coffee. You deserve it. All
Oh,
right. So I definitely wrote that with a certain picture of Nahshon in mind, and that picture did not show up for the interview, Nahshon. You're throwing off my
that's right.
vibe here, man.
Yes, right. I decided to fuck the metaphor up. Um, the yeah, I think this is the first time you haven't seen me in a beanie in a long time.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Your hair's gotten a lot longer, so
It
that's
has.
good.
Yeah, I love my hair. Um, yeah, so it's all right. All right, where are we going next?
I have one question from Facebook that a lady wanted to ask, and
Really?
if yep, it's on a rehab of an old horse. So you want to entertain that one?
Maybe just as a conversation piece and less as advice, because there's so much that goes into that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So basically, she's got a horse in his early 20s. She has only had him for about a year and a half, and she had a hip replacement, so she hasn't been able to ride for 7 months. He's now showing a lot of soreness over his back and withers. She's been doing some rehab of him, with including some exercises that she saw on your horsemanship page.
Mm,
X-rays do show a little arthritis in his back, but not bad. The bones over his withers have been beat up over his lifetime, and the vet says from incorrect saddle fit. Is there
mm-hmm.
anything she can do to rehab or help his withers and lessen the soreness?
Well,
He
I think
also
I would.
has advanced ring bone in both pasterns.
So that's another story.
Yeah.
Um, I'm still working with the sunglasses and the NBA players. It kind of has my mind um, in a spot. So,
Well, how about this? While you think about that, I'm adding to your book title here. So now it's Aspiring Towards Straightness from Outside the Box. You can work with
oh,
that, huh?
that feels like a really hard yoga pose. Um, yeah. So I think I mean the ring bone, because most, my it's been my experience that the hoof and the back problems, the hoof problems, the leg problems, the lower leg problems, and the back problems are usually one and the same. And I think that where I would probably go with that, um, depending on what stage of ring bone he's in, if it's, you know, um, there's so many variables in that, but I would actually defer uh, to kind of your work on the tongue and the bit, and teaching the horse to hold the bit so that the thoracic sling is engaged. Um,
Okay.
you know, um, because there's a when they hold a bit correct, I've observed that, like, when they learn how to do it and you program the tongue to lick out instead of pull in, you can keep them a little bit more in their sympathetic nervous system, or their parasympathetic nervous system, um, which is relief in itself. But um, I think that maybe just that that missing link snaffle. Also, it might sound a little weird, but to kind of try and get into the nervous system, getting one of those slicker brushes and just gently brushing him, those cat slicker brushes, just, but not the ones with the little balls on it, because there's the ones that have the wire bristles, and they have the little plastic ball at the end, but just the wire bristle cat slicker brushes, and maybe a little bit relief that way. But I mean, as far as the ring bone, it depends on if he's in shoes or if he's not, and if he is, what kind, and I just don't know. So I would just
Mhm.
say, just from a very short-sighted and quick answer, I would say to maybe just try to get relief standing still, like, teach him how to hold a bit, and that missing link snaffle is super super helpful, just because it gets the hyoid working properly, and the jaw and all of that stuff. And I've seen actually some incredible changes happen with it, that bit by Pat Puckett, and then just seeing if you can get him relief with the brush. Um, that's probably where I would start, and then just see what he's willing to do, because I think also, like I said, a big part of my work is horses wanting to do it. Like, and if he doesn't see any incentive to get better, he probably won't.
So,
Just
so two things I wanted to add. One, I wrote this down, but I didn't find a place to slip it in. But when you were talking about your pet peeve and you got all worked up there,
Yeah, I'm
um,
sorry. The
so,
spirit came.
no, no, it's okay. But what I was thinking there, knowing you, was that what you were really trying to say is the horse business needs more falling chandeliers. I think that's what that boiled down to. Is that fair?
I don't know what that means.
Boucher. That
Yeah,
was the whole.
yeah,
Uh,
I think I heard that was the story. Another one I heard is that he just started getting old and lost all the strength in his legs, and so had to
mm,
think of another. I don't know. I don't know. I think that because I'm not an I think what it really needs is care. It just needs care. You know what I
well,
mean? Nobody has to, people or horses, nobody has to get broken. We just need care, you know? We need to learn our lessons gently.
Well, I don't really have anything else I was planning on throwing at you, and I know we've gone a little longer than what you were originally intending and
I
everything.
enjoyed
So
this so much.
I did as well. It's always a pleasure to get to chat with you. I hope our paths cross. Maybe we get to work horses together somewhere down the road or something like that. That would be a whole lot of fun. So we'll see. I'll give you a holler when we're heading toward Colorado, and if you're off like that, then maybe we'll get to do something. Who knows?
Brilliant. Okay, yeah, I look forward to it, but I'm glad that this is coming to an end because the farrier will be here in 15 minutes, so I gotta hop off here.
All right. Well, I understand.
All
I
right,
actually
see
have
you
to go
later.
trim one right now. All right, man. Take care. Bye bye.
Bye.
We'll see you next week for another episode of Adult Onset Horsemanship. I've been your host, Daniel Dolphin.